Ships or Shipsy? Only you can decide. Find out more at shipzorz.com. Good morning, everyone, and happy Tuesday. Welcome to another episode of Thoughts and Coffee. Finally, we are live on my personal LinkedIn page. I got it all sorted out through Restream, so we're going to have some folks joining us over on my personal page as well. I hope you guys are all having a great week so far. Let's dive into what's happening on Let's Talk Supply Chain. My name is Sarah Barnes-Humphrey, founder and host of Let's Talk Supply Chain, as well as the CEO of Ships. And so I'm going to give you a recap of what's happening with Let's Talk Supply Chain this week. And then we're going to bring up our guest. And most of you know who she is, and I'm super excited that she is here with us today. So let's get started. So the episode of the week this week is all about blockchain. John Trask, he is the blockchain guru, and he come on the show to talk about blockchain, artificial intelligence, how they're working together, how they're transforming companies in their supply chains using blockchain, using AI. So you're not going to want to miss that one. That one is episode 151, wherever you listen to podcasts, as well as over under podcasts at letstalksupplychain.com. And then, of course, we've got our mini series this month with Diana, all about intermodal. And the mini series is called What Does Intermodal Mean to You? We've already done the industry, we've done the equipment, we've done the technology. That's episode 145, 148, and 150. And we've got one last one coming out this Thursday afternoon. And then get ready, because November, we've got a new mini series in partnership with Fastenal. That's right. Fastenal is all about supply chain. I don't know about you, but I didn't know this about them. And I'm super excited to bring this one to you, because that mini series is going to be called Not Just Nuts and Bolts, because that's what we know Fastenal for. And so we get into how they're really helping supply chains, and I can't wait to share that with you. Yesterday, we recorded episode 2 of Blended, and it's amazing. It's about all the stories and the impacts of those stories and how we can make a difference. And I cannot wait to share that with you guys in a couple of weeks, because what everybody was talking about was just so motivating, and I can't wait for you to listen to that one. And then, of course, we've got some live streams coming up. So I want you to set your calendars, because on November 17th at noon, we're doing a lunch and learn with Blue Jay Solutions. They did some research earlier on in the year about the next generation in supply chain, and it's all about collaboration. I mean, everybody knows that collaboration is my word. And so I'm super, super excited to bring you this live stream. So again, November 17th at noon. And then that same week is Women's Entrepreneurship Day on November 19th. And so we're partnering with EDC Export Development Canada to talk about how you can sell your products internationally, what that means to go global and to export. And that's again at noon Eastern on November 19th to celebrate Women's Entrepreneurship Day, which is so much fun. And then, of course, I don't know if you guys know, but in the background of Thoughts and Coffee is my man, AJ. And I've got to give a shout out to him, because it is his birthday on Friday. He is getting a gift either today or tomorrow, and hopefully we can bring him up on Thoughts and Coffee so he can show you what I sent him. Anyways, without further ado, let's bring up Susan Walsh.
Hi!
Hello, Susan.
How are you?
Doing well, thanks. How are you? Why don't you go ahead and do a little bit of an introduction while I say hi to everybody using the comments. Let us know who you are.
Great. So hi, everyone. I am Susan Walsh, the classification guru. I'm a fixer of dirty data and creator of Quote. And I help businesses save money by classifying and cleansing their data. So anything, I've seen it all, from unclassified to missing product codes to incorrect classifications. I've done it all.
Awesome. I love it. I love all of your posts on LinkedIn. I mean, you crush it like every single time, and you're not afraid to like do lip sync battles or anything like that. I love it. I just love it.
It was an accident, and then it kind of got legs and took off. But yeah, I'm just having fun. I think that's really important.
Yeah, no, it is really important, right? I mean, LinkedIn is a professional network, but at the same time, I mean, our personal and our professional lives totally mix together. And so we've got to be able to have fun on those kind of platforms. All right, so let's get to the question of the week. I want to ask you. So tomorrow morning on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, we're going to be asking everybody what they think the innovation or the greatest innovation in supply chain has been. So I want to ask you before everybody else what you think that innovation is, and then we'll get to thoughts and coffee post.
Yeah, so I was thinking about this from two perspectives, one from a supply chain perspective and one from a customer perspective. Yeah. So from a customer perspective, it's really, really silly, but I really love tracking the little driver on his rounds and knowing how far away I am and like how many deliveries he's got until he gets to me. I really love that. I think that's great because then I can go out if I have to and I can be back in time because I can see where he is, just little things like that. But on a grander scale, and it's probably longer than 10 years, but automation of processes. So whether it's, scanning boxes on a line or packing them or, all those kinds of things, now we can track exactly where packages are in the world from the States coming over to the UK and all that great stuff. So I think
what is Davin talking about? Your shoes?
Oh. I have a habit of showing off my shoe collection on various different LinkedIn Lives and things like that. So,
well, if we're not wearing them, we have to show them off somehow. So
yeah, exactly.
We get it.
Mine's are pretty wild.
Well, we're going to be talking about Excel and some of the hot topics coming up. So, and I think, some of the best inventions, and I would agree with you that, what you were talking about with tracking the driver. I love that. Like I order on Uber Eats and it's coming by bicycle and I can follow the bicycle. Like
you can tell when he's on his lunch as well because he stopped for a little while. If it's like you've got 5 deliveries, but he won't be with you for like an hour and a half, and then you see him just sitting in a random place, you're like, he's on his lunch.
Yeah. And I just think, like, I am just excited about all of the innovation. I think that there is so much that we can do with this industry. I think that there's so much great innovation out there right now between platforms and marketplaces and different solutions that are really just going to make things so much more efficient. So I can't wait to hear from all of you tomorrow as to what you think the greatest innovation in supply chain. I think it's within the last 10 years. So go and check that out on our LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram tomorrow, because we definitely want to hear from you. And if you want to be featured on an upcoming episode of Let's Talk Supply Chain, you want to comment on the Let's Talk Supply Chain LinkedIn post. That's how you get featured. Or if you rate and review the show, that's how you get featured as well. So next we are going to go to my thoughts and coffee post. So I don't know if you guys all saw this, but obviously it's part of the discussions that we do here on Thoughts and Coffee. And every Sunday morning, I sit down with my cup of coffee and I come up with a post, not about supply chain, but more about different things, mantras that I have, mental health, different things to think about and spark conversations. And so this last Sunday, I talked about both of my mantras, but it was mostly about the one mantra, progress, not perfection. And it's something that I have lived by for a long time. And some of the examples that I gave were, my first ever episode when we called the podcast Two Babes Talk Supply Chain. We used Skype and the video was horrible, the audio was horrible, but I swear you can still find that video on YouTube. Some of my highest downloads are some of the episodes with the worst sound quality, which is amazing to me. But again, it goes to that mantra, progress, not perfection. So what did you think about that, Susan? And maybe what's your mantra?
Yeah, I can't remember. What did I say? I can't remember.
I'm gonna have to find your comment.
I know, it was
where are you? We had lots of comments on Sunday. Look, I'm gonna have to load more.
I was literally working all weekend, so I feel like it's Friday already in my world. I'm like,
you know what? It might be up here.
I thought it was at the top.
I'm making everybody dizzy.
You know me, I'm like, first
there it is.
Bond.
If it doesn't work out, try something else. Get another job, move. There are
so don't be afraid to have a go at things. You know, my first business failed and I went bankrupt, and you know what's the worst that could happen? You know, I'm still here, and I learned a lot from my second business, and you know, I took a chance with that as well. But if it didn't work out, I would have just got a job. Yeah. And obviously, if you've got family and responsibilities, then it's a bit more to take on. But there's always a backup option.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think you just need to try different things. I mean, I've always been a believer in trying different things and figuring out what you're good at, what you like to do, and what you don't like to do. I think the biggest thing that we don't focus on is what we don't like to do. And that is the biggest driver as to, you know, where you want to be, what kind of company you want to be working for, what role and position do you want to be having, what kind of company do you want to build?
I don't think, like, growing up, that wasn't really an option. I think we've moved a lot. Like the younger generations now can kind of be whatever they want to be. Yeah. Whereas when I was growing up, it was like you go and you get a job for life and you choose your career and then you stick to it and that's it. You know, you weren't really allowed to try stuff out. You just had to pick a career and that was it. So, I think nowadays there is that, and in my 20s I tried loads of different. I did recruitment, I did sales, I did telesales, I did it all.
Well, the other mantra that I mentioned on that post was life is lived forward and understood backwards, and that's my second one. So I got two mantras: progress, not perfection, and life is lived forward and understood backwards. Because I don't know about you, but you know, as you move forward in the moment, it might not make sense. But as you move forward and you learn from that experience, you talk to more people, you gather more data from what happened and what transpired, it makes a lot more sense in time.
Totally. And Steve Jobs talks about that, you know, like your life is a series of dots, and it's only when you look back that you realize they're all connected. And I couldn't be doing what I'm doing now had I not had all those crappy jobs in my 20s, you know, because I have such a mix of and range of experience that I can bring to the data side that I just wouldn't have had, you know. And literally, if my shop hadn't have failed, I wouldn't have found an ad online to go and do a data job. I mean, it's literally that. Yeah. So.
Yeah. And it's the same for me. I mean, if my family business hadn't have failed, I've always had side hustles, but I never actually took the leap to go out on my own until I was pushed out on my bum for 20 years and was kind of like, okay, you know, you've got to go for this or you're never going to do it. And so it's so true. Yeah. All right. So we're going to get into some of our topics of the week, which I thought were kind of timely. So I'm going to apologize up front because all of the articles that I picked are from The Hustle. Everybody knows how much I love The Hustle, and I love the fact that we can pick out supply chain things from what's happening and what articles they come up with. So the first article that we're going to talk about is about spreadsheets. Now, the reason why I picked this article is because I swear there is almost every single one of us, if not every single one of us, are still using spreadsheets. Yep. Some way or another for something or another. And this article was crazy to me because some of the stats that they used were, what was it? 90+% of Excel spreadsheets have at least one minor error, and some are costly. And obviously, having you on the show today, Susan, with your background, what you do in data, I thought this was a perfect conversation that you and I
it's a great article as well, really good. And actually, I think 90% is being a bit conservative.
Oh,
I'd probably say 95%.
Really? 95%?
Yeah, there's always something, even if it's just formatting, there's always something wrong with it.
Well, some of the examples that they used in this article was the marijuana giant Canopy Growth overestimated its quarterly earnings by 47 million because of an Excel spreadsheet error.
But actually, it's this thing. It's not the spreadsheet that's the problem. It's the user or the inputter. Right. But also, something that I talk about all the time is know your data. So look at it regularly. If you look at it regularly, you'll spot when things don't look right. So if they knew their numbers inside out, that wouldn't have happened. Someone would have flagged it up. But it's not surprising.
So is it just that we're really busy and like not really paying that much attention, or the attention that we need to make or pay to Excel spreadsheets? Or what do you think the issue is?
It's not such much the spreadsheet as the task. It's viewed as menial and possibly not so important. But actually, that first bit of putting that information into the spreadsheet is the most important part of any process. And, deserves time spent on it to get it right so that you don't have these problems down the line.
Right. Sorry, I'm laughing at John. You are doing something wrong unless you have spreadsheets. John, I'm so with you. I think I may have one of those. No, I'm just kidding. Well, the other really fun thing about this article was that they were talking about how there's Excel fixers.
Yeah.
And so they were aligning that with Olivia Pope from Scandal. I don't know if anybody in the audience has seen Scandal, but Olivia Pope was like the political fixer.
Yeah,
and they're
I want to call myself that now.
Yeah, they're saying that these Excel spreadsheet fixers are actually like Olivia Pope. Have you heard of that before? Because I hadn't really heard of that.
No, and I absolutely love it. And I'm like, why didn't I think of that?
So then, before we move on to the next article, what are some of your tips and tricks? Can you give a couple of tips and tricks to the audience about using spreadsheets and maybe what you need to look out for?
So it's probably going to, people who are watching, it's probably going to be generally larger sets of data. So hide any columns that you don't need, so that you've got less chance of cut and paste errors or putting things in the wrong column. But then on the flip side of that, remember that they're hidden. Or even if it's like a hidden tab on a spreadsheet as well, be careful, because if you share that information with other people, then they might see things that they shouldn't be seeing.
Right.
I always work by columns. So, focus on a column at a time. Don't look at everything because it's too intimidating. So focus on a little column at a time and work on making sure that's right. And, just make sure you've got either filters on or off. Reset all your filters, because if you do a cut and paste with filters on, it can go horrifically wrong, because it can actually paste what's not filtered. Mm-hmm. So you think you're just pasting this much, but actually you're pasting this much, and then all your numbers are wrong. And again, look at your data, like weekly, monthly, get familiar with it so that you start to know when things don't look right. When I get a new data set, within a day, I can start to look at it and know if things aren't right. So it doesn't take an awful long time to start to get familiar with it.
Right. Well, one of the things that you mentioned was the hidden spreadsheet column. So in this article, it talks about how Boeing accidentally published employee personal info by failing to notice it in a hidden spreadsheet column. So make sure you know your hidden columns, because if you're going to send it to somebody and it's got information that you don't want them to see, Don't do it. Just don't do it. Over on my personal LinkedIn page, just want to give a shout out to Erin. She says she loves spreadsheets, LOL. And she said, yep, always the operator, not the machine, which I thought was really funny.
Oh,
and yeah.
Oh, Barb, hi. I was just going to say, so even me, I still make errors in Excel, and I have to be so careful when I'm working with it. So yes, it is the users, but the tool is not foolproof. So, right. You have to be very aware.
Awesome. Well, we're on to our next article. And I pulled this one because this one's talking about, well, not only Ikea, which I mean is a favorite among a lot of people, but also how they're utilizing reverse logistics to buy back some of its furniture. I don't know if you guys have heard about this, but I thought this was really cool. And I bought a bed, like I bought one of those mattresses that sort of like inflate or whatever. And then I bought a bed frame. Well, the bed frame is like 6 days late, and I think it's going to be delivered today, hopefully. But I think that last mile shipping and what you do with that product, because I almost canceled my order with Amazon and bought it from somewhere else because I was going to get it sooner, because I've had a mattress laying on the floor for the last week waiting for my bed frame to come. And so what do you do with that furniture if somebody cancels an order? Are you donating it? Are you giving it back? Well, Ikea has come up with this plan to buy back the furniture. What did you think about that?
I think it's a brilliant idea, and it gets us all thinking a little bit more about what do we need and what are we using and how can we be more responsible. And actually, I thought that maybe you'd bought the bed from Ikea. I was going to say, if it's 6 days late, if they shipped it from Sweden, No,
apparently it's oversized and they're blaming it on COVID. I actually want to throw this out there and be like, how can we blame this on COVID anymore? We've had 6 months to figure this out.
Yeah, I mean, I've got my Ikea bookcase just next to me, which I've had for nearly 20 years. And it's still, it's almost looking new. It's still as solid as anything. It moved with me from Scotland down to England when I moved 20 years ago. So, their stuff does last. So I wouldn't mind having refurbished Ikea furniture.
Yeah. So what they're saying is that they want to take a stand against excessive consumption. So they're going to exchange store vouchers for, they're talking about the bookcase, I think that you're talking about as well. So 50% of the original price for new without scratches, 30% of the original price for well-used with several scratches. They're planning to launch this on Black Friday, which, hopefully nobody's going to return on Black Friday, because that's just going to be a little bit crazy.
Oh, yeah.
And some items they're saying are going to be donated while some items are going to be sold. And they're saying that it won't be as lucrative as the $10 billion refurb electronics industry, but they want to be setting a sustainable standard, which, I applaud them for. I think that, being able to figure out how to manage consumption with the consumers that you already have, and figuring out through a reverse logistics scenario on how you're going to help with that reusability, right? Recycling is one thing, but reusability is really what's going to take us into the future of sustainability. And I think that this is a great step forward. The technology industry has done this for a while. But obviously with furniture, I don't know about you, but big garbage days, I'm seeing, furniture lining the streets. Yeah. And that's just going into the garbage. Like, that's not even being recycled. Yeah. So how do we figure that out? And I give kudos to Ikea for saying, hey, if you're not using it, if it's still in fairly good condition, don't do a garage sale. Don't throw it out on the side of the street. Bring it back to us, and we're going to give you some credit to be able to do that.
Well, that's great, because we all know that you'll spend more than the credit in Ikea. It's almost impossible to go in there and not spend a fortune.
Yeah. Yeah, no, exactly. I think they want you to return so that you're spending money there as well. Yeah. All right. So our last article, what are we talking about? Oh, we are talking about work from home. And I thought this was interesting because obviously there's some people that are going back into stage 2 of lockdown. Melbourne's coming out of it. Yay, Allison. Because they've been in lockdown for like 12 months.
Yes, a long time.
Weeks or something like that. Like it's been a really, really long time for them. Obviously, COVID is still around. A lot of us are still working from home. And so what does that look like in the future? And so this article talks about what Microsoft is planning to do for the next 6 months to a year. And it looks like most of the large tech companies are really extending their work from home strategies. I mean, what did you think about that, Susan?
Well, as someone who's worked from home for 8 years, it's always been possible. It's nice to see that actually it's becoming more accepted because I'm way more productive working from home, far less distractions. You know, as you can imagine, I'm there, chat, and no work gets done. So, you know, and it's not for everybody. So, you know, you do need offices, and it is good to have that kind of human connection, but it can be far more productive, but you have to learn to actually, like, you know, switch off at a certain time and don't work into the evening.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what it's going to affect, though, is they're talking about how 1,000 firms over the past 6 months have upped their work from home plans.
Yeah.
30% have said that they plan to cut commercial offices completely. So with that being said, I see offices being cut, but I see warehouses going up.
Okay. So I don't know if it's the same where you are, but a lot of offices are now being converted back into residential properties around here.
Oh, interesting.
So there's a bit of a shift going on there. So it's not bad. Yeah.
So that is kind of the repurpose model that we were talking about with IKEA, which is good, right? Because what are we going to do with all of this office space? I mean, there's a lot of it out there. And if 30% is going to be cut, I mean, that is a huge dent in the real estate market.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw John Lewis over here in the UK. They are a massive retailer, and they're now looking to go into real estate, you know, so they own a lot of land, and they'll close some of their stores and build residential properties on it instead.
Wow, that's really interesting. And I'm glad to see that they're, you know, understanding that there's going to be a huge dent in the commercial real estate side and how they're going to repurpose that into, you know, homes. And
but like you said, with warehousing, I think Royal Mail have said they're taking on like 33,000 Christmas temps. So they're obviously expecting a huge uptake in, I guess, well, everyone's going to be posting gifts to each other this year, aren't they? They're not going to be able to physically take them.
Yeah. So one of the things we talked about last week is that if you don't have your Christmas gifts and you plan to buy them online, you need to do this ASAP because, I mean, look at what just happened with Pure Later, and it's not even the rush yet. And it was 6 days delayed. So if you are planning to buy anything online, there's a lot of people doing the same thing. Just make sure that you're planning way, way ahead so that you get your gifts before the holiday season.
Just thinking, my brother lives in the States, so I'm going to have to start thinking about getting that shipped off soon so it makes it in time.
Yeah, exactly. So a couple other things about this article before we go is that Microsoft has turned on the mental health side of working from home for their Teams and Outlook. So they have an integration for Headspace, which I thought was really, really cool. And the other thing is they're rolling out a virtual solution for commuting. So before, when we were going to offices, obviously we had downtime and we were commuting and we were spending a lot more time in our cars. Microsoft's virtual commute feature is meant to create work-life boundaries the same way that physical commutes used to. And I think that that's huge because if we think about it and we're working from home, I don't know about you, but I'm working more hours.
Yeah.
Right? It's bleeding into my evening time. You don't have that downtime don't have that commute time anymore. And so, we really need to put some boundaries on what we're doing and how we are working from home and what we are going to do and what we're not going to do and having those conversations. So it'll be interesting to see what this virtual commute is that Microsoft comes out with. But we are pretty much at the tail end. So Susan, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you?
Thanks. So you can find me at theclassificationguru.com. You can find me on LinkedIn, which is where I hang out the most. I'm Susan Walsh / the Classification Guru, or I'm on Twitter and Insta as well, Classification Guru. There's only one of me, so I'm easy to find.
Absolutely follow Susan.
YouTube as well. I'm on the Let's Talk Supply Chain side, and I've got my own as well.
Yes. You also have your videos. Yes, we have a video series for you on our YouTube, the ST Supply Chain TV, called The Data Den, or Stories of the Data Den, I believe.
Yeah, that's where it started.
Yeah. So check that out as well. I loved having you on the show, Susan. I think this has been amazing. You've just been given LinkedIn Live rights, so we're going to be seeing more of you live on LinkedIn. Yeah, starting in November. So thank you, everybody, for joining us this morning. And thank you, Susan, for joining us on Thoughts and Coffee.
Thanks a lot.